Alrighty, good morning. Good morning, good morning. What's happening now? I've got a rough subject, so I'll just go. So I've decided at this point that I'm trying to streamline what I'm doing because I'm going to have to start moving and rearranging lots of things to no real end point, that's very frustrating. Because the interaction with the overall landscape going on is one-sided and is still is still being perceived as heading down a destructive path. So in the streamline process, I'm going to start uploading to YouTube so I can lower the video quality. The video quality is not really important. I could just do audio, but that actually weirdly is harder. Or it's just something I'm not as familiar with. So I think if I lower the video quality down, upload to YouTube, maybe do it in an hour-long chunk like I was before. Because the interaction on Instagram just doesn't. It's a complete dead end. And that's what I'm using that interaction as an indicator that we are in something more serious, because I believe I have, or would have at any other point in time, had an authority within my network of people, friends, and especially family. Especially based on my specific expertise in certain environments. That's the real point. That is, so I have a circle of people around me, except my children. My children do listen, but I'm witnessing, like, they are stuck between having to listen and then having having literally people around them refer to me as crazy, which is both catastrophic to them, which is abuse, and just a straight out example of what is going on. I am navigating from a point, conceptually, like a conceptual point of probably 6 years ago, and we went into a pandemic in the middle of that, which, what I would say is a lot of rules of engagement that were pretty standard and uniform throughout my entire life before that, and through in dialogue with my parents or other people, it was clear that we went off track massively there. And so my navigation from that, say, 6 years ago point is the point where, that's where I'm coming from. I'm not trying to bring back the 1920s. This is 6 years ago with a global, what I now consider is basically some type of shadow war, some type of shadow war of perception, and war of trying. The territory isn't territory, although it is territory. The territory is kind of coming second, but it is a ideological war to try and capture people's minds in a state of fear fear, and the fear is always the same. It's the fear of opposing these structures. And even more importantly than the direct fear, it's the fear of other people. It's the unknowing that is how those structures actually are built. And that comes from just a complete degradation of the understanding of our structures. And so it is ushered us into a totalitarian state that is exhibiting all those key features, but without the aesthetic that would, the previous aesthetic of similar attempts. And so it's playing we're getting along with normal, yet we've changed everything on the map. That seems to be the strategy. I believe this is amplified again. I'm always going on about this literally by the size and the distribution of the content and interaction on our phones, because it is being perceived as not human by some part of our brain, and someone has hacked into that to implant this type of what I would now consider, it's basically like herd control on a level that is so absolutely sickening. And the base kind of structural and societal standards that we had built up and that were very important for my entire life they're now being exited, which I think actually increases the level of control, because then if people are participating in these behaviors, I think that invokes a shame in them, and then they can be, so no one believes they have a moral standpoint to actually challenge anything on, because they've degraded the moral fabric of our society so much that, and then all the politicians doing and the corporations are just presenting a pure and noble, virtuous image, and then everyone is falling in line. So what I want to say now, this is my official. So I've stated before that my business, and when I've got this in writing, and what I mean by this is I mean my specific portable dance mirror business that I had developed and had set up distribution nationally for, because I am looking to navigate away from Australia, because this is becoming, I'm at that point, possibly to Tasmania briefly, because I think Tasmania is the last remaining foothold on this country and has the best opportunity to remove itself from this country. And basically I want to go there because I've got to get my dad's ashes back there. My dad was my connection to the British Empire, to the moral structure, to a lot of things, and him being significantly older than a lot of my peers' fathers, his groundedness in those structures was the most important thing that I had when things started to go bad. And so he had always requested to be taken home. And so, I've been in the process of getting his going through his belongings. He had a lot of things. I had to sort that out. It's been a process that's been going on since he died. I believe now he would be just absolutely sickened with what's going on, and would 100% understand what I'm doing. So I want to take him home. And then this is where I don't feel firm confidence in any region, so I'll have to see whether that's where I want to stay. I do want to go back to England, take my family back home, just have a look around and see whether that's a place that I feel very strongly called to it, like I've never felt before. And all right, so what I was saying about the portable mirror, and I'm sorry for wandering off. So because I'm looking to navigate away, I had made a promise to commit to donate that business to an organisation that is run by Aboriginal people, so that the idea of it is that dance is such an integral part of Aboriginal culture, and about it is a method that they use to navigate the world. It is to understand that level of how that works in their culture is you need to not get fooled by the simplistic nature of it. It isn't a simplistic nature. Within their society, their dances as a way of communication is equivalent to our high level entertainment, whether that be Hollywood or whether that be Broadway or whether that be the West End. All those, or whether it's the symphony orchestra, all of that is the equivalent. And we cannot get bogged down with the extravagance of our representations of it. And just as the majority of people around are getting most of their cultural feedback from those entities, you know what I mean? We have politicians and stuff that kind of do these other things, but most people are observing their way into the culture and getting an example and getting all these important like lower level skill. Like it's about, it is the highest level of communication. So we're getting that from movies and Netflix and films and all these things. And so that is the same. And so I believe because we are not going to get the information we need from the Aboriginal people through our parliament, it's never going to happen like that. That's not what needs to happen. We need to be on that level. And so that's why, because I've been forced to leave by actions taken by the Australian government, especially a divisive action like The Voice, which just, to do that at the time that they did it is the most irresponsible thing anyone could have ever done. It was not the time. It wasn't explained. Anyway, all of that. So and that's not the main thing. It's all the strategies. Whatever government's doing has put me in a position where I want to leave. And anyway, I want to donate that business to if I can get bids from Aboriginal elders who want to form a company that will do that, I will explain the whole thing. I will show them how they can optimize further. I'll show them how they can negotiate suppliers, and they can be gifted the entirety of all the work that I did, including this transition, which is hopefully can hopefully give them a foothold into like being the operators in that market. I think there's a beautiful thing about that if you think about that dance mirrors are coming from Aboriginal people, and then that the profits can go, hopefully, this is up to them though, can hopefully go into communities where they can produce those locally, perhaps ship them internationally. I think there is a like a relic type. There is a significance in having a dance mirror that is invoked with the spirit of this country and by these people here, which is the last en masse kind of conquered tribalistic community, and I think it's vital. So it becomes more than just a product. It becomes the symbol of this like gesture into the hope that we can get better at translating each other, and I think dance is the avenue that can be best done in. I mean, I would also like to see them try and push into more sustainable production of the glass and the mirrors and go through all that, and the aluminium, all the things, but that will just be specifically that dance mirror. That is, it's kind of a unit as itself, and will be a parting gift to the Aboriginal community, because I have benefited so much when it really came down to it, when I was really, really up against it. Although I have my cultural background of Christianity and that kind of very substantial history, in this land I was assisted greatly by spirits that are from this land, and it showed me a world that I believe if we could figure out a way to get that through to people, it is the most important thing we could do. It's akin to the space travel. It's akin to seeing the Earth from space. This is almost like the grounded version of that. To see the world through those eyes, to commune with those spirits, although they don't mince words. There is not a lot of words. It is the rawest, most beautiful interaction with the world I've ever had, and it is one that I carry on into our Western world, because it does go back out. And I think this is where, from my perspective, the privilege that I have to be able to go there and to be welcomed into that by those spirits, and then allowed to also be, purely just from the way I talk and my skin color and things like that, to be able to also integrate with Western culture, which doesn't work the same way backwards. Unfortunately, that's where a lot of these problems are coming from. It gives me my own special set of like weirdness that I feel, because I feel like a little bit like an alien in both. But I have enough grounding and enough yeah, but a lot of the newer aspects of our culture, I do not feel they just, I feel like we're off in someone's daydream, someone's like Blade Runner, Star Wars daydream, and we're not grounded within our own culture, and I think that's really dangerous. But a lot of the historic stuff, I feel very at home, and I also feel at home in the bush, in nature, and with those spirits who have taken me on an adventure that you cannot buy. Yeah, the dream. Speak of dream time, all that. It's like that. It's just, I could write 3 books and not even touch the surface of what the depth of that place is. And so yeah, this is just a small gesture to thank the carriers of that knowledge, to thank the culture of this land, and hopefully to help in communication between the two cultures that I do hope, even though I do see troubling times ahead on the way that the government is going, but I think this is me leaving my bow, an archery bow or something like that. It's the equivalent. This is a tool you can use to be able to navigate what I unfortunately believe is going to be potentially a tricky time. I know there's tensions between the United Kingdom and the Indigenous people, and it is 100% understandable why. There were mistakes made, there were promises broken, there were all kinds of things. Once something is started, it is something started. It's yeah. I suppose my only thing would be to say the whole, and this is probably what I can say. I can say this from having experienced that. I was left with a choice to, and I would actually speak to my dad about this a lot. I was left with a choice, the way I felt, the way that I was cast out and put in this position. I had 2 choices. One of them was to walk out and be out there. And it is 50% of me that wants to do that. And then the other is to leave. This could be, I will say, this could be just to do with my adaptation, my light skin, I don't know, my body shape, whatever it is. I couldn't quite get there in that response because it just, I don't believe a culture can live like that in this environment, with this going on, with the rest of the world going the way it is and the rest of the world being existing. It can, with the absence of that knowledge. And so what I get to is although this may be, this may fall on deaf ears, this may be just rejected as hearsay or whatever, but it's like that. I would hope that the benefits provided by the integration with Western culture in time will outweigh the negatives. And I believe that there are ways to have the option to have parallel cultures, that maybe reflect more so the core beliefs and core worldview and world structures of Aboriginal people in a way that doesn't come into conflict as much. And I think that's there's just a few things I've seen. Like there needs to be more appropriate land traversing abilities. We have closed off the land, and that is to the indigenous way of life is prison. It's prison from the get-go. So if you're born into and raised into that mindset, and you can't traverse the land because there is fences and roads and private property and this everywhere, that comes into direct conflict. It doesn't. You can't read the land. You can't follow the land. You can't without coming into conflict. And this is I've had constant thing about New Zealand, that New Zealand has a far different approach to this. And the same in the Nordic countries. I don't know, Norway has rite of passage and things like that, or whatever it's called. That I believe is important. I believe that and also as a thing to hand to the Aboriginal people, I believe that your species of plants and animals that were existing here can be optimized, and I believe if your culture was willing to use those new things, which you are all consuming, so there are almost no Aboriginal people living purely on Aboriginal diet, and I think the dance between those two things has a potential to be wonderful in areas that are currently degraded or not being used, or that's just a little point. And I think there is a way, especially with the technology going the way it is, that can become I just think it could be meshed cultures. So you can have, I think, a negotiation to negotiate parallel cultures. I've just seen it very clearly. And then there needs to be if you can jump into the level of using these technologies that are now provided by the West to strengthen but the thing is that we want that to be there, but if that is used then in conflict, that creates a whole bunch of a mess. And again, that might not be something that the current government, the way it's going, they don't really want that, because they are looking for control over you and over people of Western descent, of European descent. That's why I'm leaving. It's not going to work on this land base because we don't understand it enough yet. And so the control will degrade because you can't control people. You have to inspire them to do the work that needs to be done. Anyway, so that's on the mirrors. This is long, I'm sorry. I suppose it does kind of protect me because it's hidden. Everything's hidden within a big long thing that no one's going to watch. So the next part is to do with the Scale Matters project, which is such a large concept that it is hard to even explain. It is a parallel internet. It's an internet that's built with principles that the British Empire was built on, not in a free-for-all video game town built on sex and lies. When I look at London, I would far rather be in London, although London probably has its problems. I'd far rather be in London than in California. California is a town built on lies. So the Scale Matters project, I think this is the first time I'm officially saying this. I would like the Scale Matters project to be a joint project done with the British royal family on whatever. You'll have to explain to me the way this can work. My position on it is to purely bring it into existence. Although material interests are not anywhere near first at hand, I would like to be, I don't want to end up owning this thing because that's ridiculous. It doesn't make sense. I want it to be owned and operated by the people of the Commonwealth. So however that needs to be done, I would like it to be distributed independently of any government. So it would almost act as a government, as a parallel government that would be instituted by the royal family that could govern the digital space and develop the digital space on behalf of the Crown. This is the only way I can see to do this, because it is the only structure that I've been a part of that has an existing track record of behaving in this way. And although I'm coming into conflict with the governments, I believe that is just a mechanism of a larger structure like that not getting feedback appropriately. And this system, the Scale Matters system, is a British-led reply to the out-of-control American-led metaverse concept. It's my belief that the internet and the tools that we now have at our fingertips are best used as avenues for authentic human communication at the appropriate scale, if preferable. But I believe the reintroduction of the appropriate scale at a scale of acceptance that is large enough to make a dent, which will only be possible in this manner. I believe we can lead from that premium example, which is what I see the royal family has always done. And then I believe it will filter down into the already existing metaverse and become the standard that the metaverse accepts. I put a lot of, I'm going to continue on doing this. I will, even if this is taken on and started, I will still I'm still very interested in going through and doing the science that would be required to prove out the mechanism, or maybe people can jump on board. I'd like to hear from architects. I'd like to hear from psychologists. I'd like to do brain studies on people, the difference between people interacting with small devices and large devices. It's my belief that on this navigation to the future that we're on, we were only 1 or 2 or 3 degrees away from an optimum place, and this is very common. If you look at other iterations of technologies in the past, there is a race, there is an impetuous nature to claim that territory, and it's my I'm 100% certain that in the very British way, the tortoise will win over the hare in this race, and that this slow and steady, well thought out approach to create an alternative will win out and can reset the order that has been damaged so greatly by just the out of control scramble to capture this territory. And so a lot of what you have to understand about a lot of what I've done is I was forced into a defensive position that quite literally forced me off the map. I had to find my home. I had to find my allies. I had to find everything. And as I'm saying, to the point where I was ready to never mutiny because I was being attacked. So I was willing to, like, at one point I thought I really did consider just wandering off and figuring out how to live, and then perhaps I thought I might have to come back in like 20 years and be like, oi, you've gone off the wrong track. I'm glad that I didn't, although this may still be I may still have a bit of a battle ahead of me, but I was led so strongly in this direction. This wasn't like, I don't see a lot of other people around me doing this, and I know it sounds large. It sounds like, oh, what do you mean you're talking to the king? It's like, from my place, I was like, no, this is the exact time to do that. And a lot of the work I had to do was to gain the position, to gain the authority to be able to interact at that level. And I do feel like I have done that that work, and I'm still doing that now from a position of still being on the outer and still being ostracized. And that, I think there's a message in that as well that is beautiful, because I've never seen like a narrative of fear and of fear and of conspiracy has kind of built up around these institutions, about these structures. And that's I've never really participated in that. I've never felt that way. I feel about the royal family as a lot of people feel about I mean, I don't even feel it. They are spiritual leaders of a country and of a commonwealth and of an empire. And when I observe the way they operate, I do not see a better example in the world. And that makes me proud, and it makes me proud to be connected to that. It makes me proud of my family's connection to that, about my family's interaction with that institution, and more than likely with that institution throughout several iterations, perhaps several families, and it is the interaction with that institution, with the Royal British monarchy and the Church of England, that I am so proud of. Like, and the way that is being ripped to shreds by the media and by corporations who are all operating so far from the ideal that institution is set, and just not realizing the metaverse, the Instagram and Facebook. I guarantee you it's caused more damage to the world than the British Empire did already, in a way that isn't, it's like out of control. It's just, and it's the same with some of these pharmaceutical corporations, and it's like a collective attack by pirates, really. We all think of pirates as these like rough, things. That's not what pirates were. Pirates were like a pirate ship. A ship filled with pirates could have the same amount of men as a British naval ship had. This is what these corporations are. They are pirates. And of course, they're doing what pirates always do: is they're attacking the institution that they sprung from in a selfish, short-sighted scramble to try and oppose them to be in the position they're in. And I think that's how this period will be looked at. It was another... Everything I've done has felt like I'm navigating on an ocean, like I'm some type of... like a scout, like a nautical scout, but it's not the ocean, but it is the ocean. It's the conceptual ocean of the world and the metaverse and the digital environment. And to be there and also try and live in the real world at the same time they're just completely different, because no one knows about what's going on there. No one's thinking at this level. And so to me, it feels like I've rowed, you know what I mean? I've got in my boat by myself and rowed around looking at everything, scouting the entire area, and have then been able to kind of assess this risk and then send it as high up as I can, suggest a technological change to reunify a once glorious empire. And I think that I look forward to hearing the potential criticism of this concept, because that will bring directly into light what it is exactly we're in. I think especially there is a certain demographic of young people, which I remember being young. I remember being easily led off in strange paths and being, incredibly spirited in those strange paths. Luckily, I'm not as organized as I am now, and that is the inevitable result. I see that scramble of like, oh, but it's this and this and this. It's like, well, no, it's not this. It has brought this and this destruction and this questioning and these ideologies of harm. It has removed social structures that were existing. It has done a lot of damage, and so this is my answer and my offer to the Crown, to King Charles, to, as a humble servant to His Majesty, to provide an alternative that could be led by I don't want to lead this unless I'm happy to I'm happy to fit into whatever position would be necessary to see this through. And yeah, I do believe this is of massive importance, and I believe it's from my observations, my scouting, my very intense delving into this thing. I believe it's one of the only things that I've seen that has any chance of dragging us out of this maze of mirrors. That is where we're in. It is always the image I'm shown. Is just a swirling maze of mirrors spinning around, and we are so lost within that, where just basic courtesy and things has just disappeared in these environments. And yeah, so thank you for listening. I will share this on YouTube. I will take the photo of it. I'll add you into the photo. I look forward to hearing from you. If I don't hear from you, I will just continue navigating through this path. Respectfully, I understand that. Yeah, I basically have a belief that this will get through when it will get through at the right time, at the right place. And so yeah, I'm stepping down to a different level. I'm going to attempt to get moving. I don't really know how that looks. So I'm taking it easy. And yeah, I wish you all the best. Thank you.